What if I told you that one of the richest men in the world, a man worth over $130 billion, still drives himself to McDonald's every morning and orders breakfast for under $4? No chauffeur. No private chef. No $18 avocado toast. Just Warren Buffett. A drive-through window. And a very deliberate choice. See, most people assume that billionaires become rich because they spend lavishly, living that big life, signaling success to the world. But Buffett flipped that script entirely. Today, we're going to break down the exact frugal habits Warren Buffett has maintained for decades. And more importantly, we're going to show you why those habits didn't just save him money, they actually made him richer. Stay with me, because some of these are going to surprise you. Let's start with breakfast, because it tells you everything about Warren Buffett's psychology. Every single morning, Buffett stops at McDonald's on his way to Berkshire Hathaway's offices in Omaha, Nebraska. And he doesn't just randomly pick off the menu. He has a system. In his own words, documented in the HBO documentary, Becoming Warren Buffett, he said, "I tell my wife, before she goes to bed, either $2.61, $2.95, or $3.17. And she puts that amount in the little cup by my car. $2.61 gets him 2 sausage patties. $2.95 gets him a sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit. And $3.17 gets him a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit." Now, why does this matter? Is it about saving $3? Absolutely not. Buffett could buy McDonald's itself. It's about decision fatigue. Every unnecessary decision you make drains mental energy. By automating something as trivial as breakfast, Buffett saves his cognitive firepower for what actually moves the needle: analyzing companies, allocating capital, and making multi-billion-dollar decisions. This is the same reason Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every day. The same reason Obama said he only wore gray or blue suits. Frugality, at its highest level, isn't about being cheap. It's about being intentional. Now let's talk real estate, because this one genuinely shocks people. Warren Buffett bought his house in Omaha, Nebraska in 1958, for $31,500. That's roughly $330,000 in today's money. He still lives there. A 5-bedroom house. No gate. No security fortress. No beachside mansion in the Hamptons. Just a comfortable home in a quiet Midwestern neighborhood where he's lived for over 65 years. And here's the genius of it. By not upgrading his home every time his net worth climbed, Buffett avoided one of the most destructive financial traps the wealthy fall into, what economists call lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation is when your spending rises in lockstep with your income. You get a raise? Bigger apartment. Bonus hits? New car. Stock portfolio doubles? Time to remodel the kitchen. It feels natural. It feels deserved. But it silently murders your ability to build wealth. Every dollar Buffett didn't spend on a bigger house was a dollar that went into the stock market, compounding year after year after year. At a 20% average annual return, which is roughly what Berkshire Hathaway delivered for decades, a dollar saved in 1960 would be worth over $15,000 today. The house wasn't a sacrifice. It was a trade, consumption for compounding. Here's where things get really interesting. Buffett doesn't just save money. He sees money fundamentally differently from most people. He famously thinks in terms of opportunity cost, and he does it automatically, almost without trying. In his biography, The Snowball, Buffett described how as a young man, every dollar he spent felt like he was giving up future wealth. He'd think, "That's not just $5, that's $50 someday." That mindset changed everything. When you see a $200 pair of sneakers and think, "That's $200, you're thinking like a consumer. When Buffett sees $200, he thinks, "What could that $200 become in 10, 20, 30 years if I put it to work?" At a 10% annual return, basically matching the S&P 500, $200 becomes $519 in 10 years. $1,345 in 20 years. $3,490 in 30 years. Now multiply that by every single purchase decision he's made over 70 years of investing. That's not frugality. That's a superpower. And Buffett developed this muscle early. By age 11, he had already bought his first stock. By 16, he had saved $53,000 in today's dollars, from paper routes, pinball machine rentals, and used golf ball sales. The habit was set before he even knew he'd become the greatest investor of all time. Now, Buffett does own a private jet. He named it the Indefensible. And he's been open about the fact that it took him years to justify the expense. But here's what most people miss: he only bought it when it genuinely served his productivity. For decades, when Berkshire was smaller and his time wasn't worth as much per hour, he flew commercial. He drove himself. He stayed local. But as Berkshire grew into a $900 billion empire, his time became his most valuable asset. A private jet meant he could visit more companies, have more meetings, and make better decisions faster. That's not a luxury. That's leverage. And this reveals a core principle of Buffett's approach to frugality. It's not about never spending. It's about spending only when the return, financial or otherwise, clearly justifies the cost. He still refuses to carry a cell phone most of the time. He barely uses a computer. He doesn't have a trading terminal on his desk. In fact, for years, his office had no computer at all. Because Buffett figured out that the best investment decisions don't come from more data, they come from clearer thinking. And clearer thinking comes from simplicity. Here's another one that blows people's minds. Warren Buffett pays himself a salary of $100,000 per year as CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. That's it. $100,000. Now, the average S&P 500 CEO earns about $16 million per year in total compensation. Some earn hundreds of millions. Buffett? 100 grand. Why? Because he doesn't need the salary. His wealth comes from owning Berkshire stock, so his financial incentives are perfectly aligned with shareholders. When Berkshire does well, Buffett does well. When shareholders lose, so does he. But here's the deeper lesson: Buffett has never confused income with wealth. Income is what you earn. Wealth is what you keep, invest, and grow. Most high-earning people are cash flow rich and wealth poor, spending nearly everything they make on a lifestyle that looks wealthy but isn't. Buffett understood this from the beginning. He didn't need a $10 million salary to feel successful. His scorecard was always the long-term growth of his business. Everything else was noise. And that psychological detachment from income, from status spending, from the need to look rich, is perhaps the single most underrated reason why he actually became rich. Now, here's a frugal habit that has nothing to do with money, and everything to do with it. Warren Buffett reads 500 pages a day. Books, annual reports, newspapers, filings. He estimates he spends 80% of his working day just reading and thinking. Early in his career, when people asked how to get smart about investing, he'd hand them a stack of books rather than give them tips. His reading habit costs almost nothing, a library card, a few dozen books a year. But it has compounded into arguably the deepest investment knowledge base any individual has ever built. Charlie Munger, his late business partner, once said, "I have known no wise person over a broad subject matter area who didn't read all the time, none, zero." Buffett famously read every book in the Omaha Public Library related to business and investing by the time he was 10 years old. By the time he graduated high school, he had read The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham multiple times. That cheap, unglamorous habit, picking up books instead of picking up a phone, built the mental models he's used to generate billions. The most valuable investments aren't always financial. Sometimes they're intellectual. And those cost almost nothing. Okay, so let's bring this home. Because I don't want you to walk away from this video thinking, "Cool story, but I'm not a billionaire." Because the point isn't to copy Buffett's habits exactly. The point is to understand the principles underneath those habits, and apply them to your own life. Here are the 3 big takeaways. Number 1. Automate the small stuff. Stop wasting mental energy on trivial decisions. Meal prep. Automate savings. Simplify your wardrobe. Use that freed up brainpower for things that actually matter: your career, your investments, your relationships. Number 2. Fight lifestyle inflation every single time you get a raise. Before you upgrade your car, your apartment, your wardrobe, pause. Ask yourself, is this going to make me meaningfully happier? Or am I just spending because I can? Put half of every raise directly into investments before you even see it. Number 3. Think in decades, not months. Buffett's entire advantage is time. He started young, stayed consistent, and let compounding do the heavy lifting. Every dollar you invest today, even $50, even $20, has the potential to multiply many times over if you give it enough runway. You don't need to eat McDonald's every morning. You don't need to live in the same house for 65 years. But you do need to stop spending to look wealthy, and start building to be wealthy. Warren Buffett once said, "Someone's sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago." His frugal habits weren't about deprivation. They were about planting trees, consistently, patiently, and without needing applause for it. The results speak for themselves. If you found this video useful, drop a like, it genuinely helps the channel grow. And if you want more videos breaking down the money habits of the world's greatest investors, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss what's coming next. I'll see you in the next one.